Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. KALPAVRIKSHA, the synthesis of biomolecules for biological life. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known. My greatest discovery, Devyang, the divine design of nature, with which the perfect objects are designed and created. The genesis of biochemistry, the science of biochemistry has evolved from atoms, elements, molecules, and organic compounds. The synthesis of biochemistry compounds in plants, let's discuss. The first product which nature produced was carbohydrate, followed by lipids, then followed by proteins. So let's say carbohydrate, the first most useful carbohydrate for life is glucose. As I have told you in the beginning, methane plus oxygen gave rise to carbon dioxide plus water. Now, nature produced carbon dioxide and water for the remaining cycles to take place. Now, here, carbon dioxide from atmosphere and water from earth in the presence of sun, photosynthesis in plants, KALPAVRIKSHA, produced glucose plus oxygen, as you can see right on top. I have also put the molecular structure of glucose on both the sides. C6H12O6. And carbohydrate is nothing other than hydrated carbon. Now, let's understand the synthesis of plant glucose or photosynthesis. As I have written, 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 of water molecules united together in the plants in the presence of sunlight to produce 6 carbon intermediates. And this particular cycle is called Calvin cycle, as you can see on the right side. Graphic presentation, left side I have given flow chart. Third thing which appeared, 6 into triose or 3 carbon sugar. Then fourth was 6 glycerate, 1,3 biphosphate, 6 into glycerhydrate, 3 phosphate GAP, then 5 into glycerhydrate, 3 phosphate, and 3 into revolutes, 1.34. I know it's quite a technical thing. It's primarily meant for biochemistry or the serious students who would like to understand how carbohydrates were produced from carbon dioxide and water. And others need not necessarily worry too much about at this particular stage. This happens in plants. So plants are the first, from mineral to plant kingdom is what this is all about. Now, from plant kingdom we have flown to animal kingdom, and for the consumption of animal cells is glucose plus 1. Now, the next step, glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. Glycolysis means breakdown of glucose to form energy, and gluconeogenesis is from energy back to the formation of glucose, which takes place within the human cells or the cells simultaneously. Incidentally, this also has a 10 stages of glycolysis and 10 stages of gluconeogenesis. As you can rightly say, the left side is the glycolysis in the middle, which is glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6 biphosphate, glyceride 3-phosphate, 1,3 biphosphoglycerate, 3 phosphoglycerate, 2 phosphoglycerate, and phosphoenol pyruvate. 10th step, in the presence of oxygen, you find formation of pyruvates or pyruvic acid. When in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic, it is lactate. As you can see, triose is a 3 carbon intermediate sugar, where 3 carbon acids are pyruvic acid and lactic acid. Right on the right side, you can see the formula of triose, C3H6O3. But down I have put the formula of pyruvic acid as well lactic acid, which incidentally is also same formula. But the difference of structure is such a, one is a sugar which is sweet, another is acid and then you can go deep into it and find out why exactly others are had. See, now you see in triose OH is there, but in lactic acid and pyruvic acid you don't see OH, you can only see H. That's the difference which I would like you to understand. But from that point of view, this much is enough for you to understand, have an idea how nature has designed everything in 10 stages. Formation is 10 stages and dissolution is also in 10 stages, which we will understand later when we start the genesis of Divyank itself. Synthesis of fatty acids is the next thing which nature did. Now you can see pyruvate right side to acetyl coenzyme A, malonyl coenzyme, fatty acid synthesis in chloroplast are plant cells. And other parts of the cell, you can find succinate to glyceride to acetylcholine, beta oxidation, acetylcholine, those and can be possible to lead to triacylglycerol. This is also technically very high, but it is meant for serious students at a later date. Photosynthesis carbohydrate. Now, I have a question. In photosynthesis, carbohydrates are synthesized first, lipids are synthesized next. But what is the difference between the formula of carbohydrates and lipids? And the difference is carbon and hydrogen in both is the same ratio is maintained, but oxygen is removed from lipids. Why? To add oxygen later during beta oxidation to produce extra ATP. Now let us look at this particular visual. Fatty acid, the human cells, produce 2.25 times more ATP than glucose and protein. In other words, 1 gram of carbohydrate produces 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of protein also produces 4 kilocalories. Whereas 1 gram of lipid produces 9 kilocalories. That means 2.25. As I told you, what is the reason is you see the formula of fatty acids on the right side. At the end you can find O2, 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 O2. But the formula of C12H24, C1428, the same formula remains. That means oxygen had been removed to it. Now, beta oxidation also goes through the process of 10 stages. Fatty acid, as you can rightly see in the middle, FAD, oxidation to FADH, then hydration, water is put again, then NAD to NADH, another, that's oxidation number 2, then thiolysis. At the end you will get 2.45 times more ATP than we can get from carbohydrate and protein. This is also a technical thing which let it be only for technical people, because I'm trying to create an impeccable wisdom. This kind of information is not really brought out this way so that people can understand. Left side, heart does not suffer from fatigue or pain during normal life. Why? Because it uses fatty acids more than glucose. And from fatty acid you do not find the production of pyruvic acid or lactic acid. But unfortunately, in the case of heart attack, myocardial infarction or block, oxygen is not carried, fatty acids are not carried, then they start producing lactic acid from the glucose, otherwise other thing, and as a result you experience pain. This is something which we'll discuss at a later date. But carry home message is fatty acids have less oxygen. They removed from carbohydrate formula to be incorporated through beta oxidation 1 and 2 to produce more ATP. Nature's beautiful design is something which I would definitely appreciate. Now, carbohydrate is also carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and fatty acids also are, lipids also are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen only. Stage of amino acid production are protein. And here, along with carbohydrate, or say carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, nitrogen is also added as the fourth element to produce plants, amino acids and proteins in plants. And This also goes through 10 stages of synthesis in plants. As you see, you're right in the middle. It's again technically for serious biochemistry students and spiritual scientists and research scholars. Why nature has 10 stages. In what happens in plant cells and what happens in nitrogen cycle has been given there to for the people to see it leisure, people who are genuinely interested in understanding the nature's initial design of forming biomolecules. Now, synthesis of amino acids and protein also takes place in human cells. Incidentally, there are 10 stages of synthesis of protein in human cells also, and DNA and strands. This is also something which designed based on my understanding of Divyank. And it will lead to the formation of Divyank. How it will be discussing at a later date. But you can find DNA strand, RNA is split into two RNA strand, then mRNA, then codons, transcript RNA, reactive RNA, amino acid, anticodons, peptide bonds, proteins from the building blocks of the body is there, and you can see the formula of amino acids and how amino acids unite to form protein chains. You can see other side. And these things do take place in cells, endoplasmic reticulum cells, ribosome vesicles, and cytoplasm. The whole process takes place. DNA comes from the nucleus, then RNA from nucleus to the cytoplasm to endoplasmic reticulum to ribose to formation. This is in a nutshell I put for people to get an idea that nature revolves around 10 plus stages only. We have seen that in carbohydrates, we have seen that in fatty acids, we have seen in proteins, amino acids. And this is the building block we are building, how Divyank is created or designed by nature from hereafter for the cellular. That's third science of energy molecules, as we said, is biomolecules, carbohydrate, lipids, proteins. Now, third thing which plays very important in energy form is energy molecules. There are three different types. Adenosine monophosphate, AMP. The formula is C5H5N5. And reverse this. And now, if you look at the number of protons in AMP, adenosine monophosphate, are 180. Adenosine diphosphate is the second thing, in which you have two phosphate groups. In mono is 1, di is 2. You can see 1, this 2. And here number of protons is 220. Third is adenosine triphosphate, ATP. The number of protons is 260. Now you see 180, 220 and 260. Do you see any sequence? AMP 49 by 80 is Divyank. ADP 89 by 80 is 22 by 21. And ATP 129 by 80 is again Divyank ratio. Is it a coincidence or design? But of course, for a lay person who has no idea, who's not interested, it will go over the head. Doesn't matter. I'm leaving for the wisdom because we want to create impeccable wisdom for the entire world. And from that angle, I think my sincere attempt to bring forth those areas of this subject which have not been covered, explained in the light of modern sciences is something which I'm trying to create a sequence. In a nutshell, you can say, before the creation, it was inert matter. During creation, inert matter formed energy. And then energy, 5 stages of dissolution from Akash Bhuta to Vayu to Agni to Jal or water to earth element, and from earth, this atoms, elements and molecule formation and how things happen, how biomolecules and energy molecules were made. Up to this, we have created a new sequence. And I'm sure this recap will help us to go further when we go to the next stage. Now, same thing You can see in this particular picture also, but I do know that certain things need imagination, but I have tried to avoid imagination. So let me not confuse mythology with this or science. Let's just recap the entire thing and understand so that we can understand how nature unfolded its secrets step by step and then be happy with it. So thank you very much for kind listening and encouragement. Thank you.